Yeah, you better. Cause you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, what should
It's
have
a
it?
science fiction theme. I stopped reading it maybe 15 years ago, but at that time there was a lot of books that kind of, the thesis is always that every species, intelligent species, reaches this moment in time where they can self-destruct, right? And only those that can go through that become interstellar species.
Mm.
And that's where we are, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's we created all the technology that we need to destroy ourselves.
Mm.
And if we don't kind of make a quantum jump spiritually, but if you're familiar, I'm sure you are, with integral thinking, Gene Gapser, Ken Wilber,
Mhm.
Aurobindo. I mean, there are jumps in consciousness,
Totally.
definitely, absolutely, empirically verifiable jumps in consciousness, right?
Mm.
And so there is an interesting author, Peter M. Sorokin. So he thinks in terms of societal evolution from sensate to ideate. So a sensate civilization only believes in the senses, empiricism, science, right? And it has an arc, emergent,
Mm.
peak, decline, and then it no longer works. And that creates a bifurcation because the next civilization is then going to be ideate, which
Mm.
is people who reject that. Like the Christian ascetics reject the Roman hedonism. They don't want science. They don't want any of it. They like Buddhism, original Buddhism, you turn away from the world, right? So this happened many times in history. And it's hard to imagine that as we are today,
Mm.
but that could very well be the case. If you want to
Mhm.
be very cynical about it, think about it this way, right? Liberals don't make kids. Only conservative religious communities have children. There you go. There's the replacement already. And they are conservative, but they're likely to be ecological,
Mm.
right? So we don't know what the force is going to be. I mean,
Mhm.
you have to keep our eyes open. But I think pragmatically, I like this idea of degradative jurisdiction alliances and regenerative jurisdiction alliances.
Mhm.
So, like, yes, seed forms, but also be political at the same time. Like,
Mhm.
keep looking like who's gonna be with us, who's gonna
Mhm.
be against us, right? And ally with people who are with us.
Yeah. Yeah, it
Um,
reminds me of Helena Norberg Hodge's framework as well.
right.
Mm. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. I feel like any other questions I have are far too quotidian for the lofty nature of this conversation.
So basically, if you look at the history of civilization, you have to know that every civilization failed, everyone. There's no exceptions. Even if you look at China, of course, it's 3,000 years, but actually it's up and downs anyway. And so the idea of the pulsation of the commons is that we've forgotten about the third most important institution in the history of civilization, which is the commons. So we all know about the market and the state. We kind of believe, certainly in modernity, that we're just switching from kind of market-centric to state-centric, and there's this perpetual kind of back and forth between them. But the commons is very important. So if you look at history, let's say the indigenous period, basically the commons, communal shareholding, and the gift are basically the main value exchange. Markets are very, very marginal, almost non-existent, and so is the state. So when we get civilization, defined as market and state, the commons are still a very important part of empires and monarchies and these kinds of pre-capitalist systems. So think about the European Middle Ages. You have, the farmer has his own land, the land of the Lord, where he has to work as well. But there is also common land for basically the village, managed by the village. And it's a very important institutions to balance out the kind of extractive exaggerations of market and states, which are always competing with each other and overusing their land base. Now, if you look at the up and down of the cyclic evolution of civilizations, you will see that when markets and states do well, the commons go down.
Yeah, so peer-to-peer, the way I define it, is a system where people as peers, as equals, can freely contribute to create a common good, something that's useful for everyone. Free software, open design, open knowledge.
I think we should think in scenarios, but I don't think nothing will change, that's for sure. So there was an interesting scenario exercise at the European Trade Union. They came up with 4. So one is return to normal. So, zombie neoliberalism just going on, basically. The second one was the surveillance state. The fourth one was what we would like a transformation. So I think we should think in scenarios, but I don't think nothing will change, that's for sure. This is not this is an event that goes very deep into our nervous system.
It's a physical experience.
If we don't want to go back to a dark age where everything really goes down very fast and a lot of people dying, we need to mutualize in smart mutualization, smart localization. And again, that's where Web3 comes in. They have the technology to do that. They just need to go down at the level of physical reality, like renewable energy, organic farming. That's where they should be.
Welcome to The Regeneration Will Be Funded. This is a show about regenerative finance. We are exploring pathways to a life-affirming economy. I'm your host, Matthew Monahan, and today it's my pleasure to be joined by Michel Bauwens. Michel is the founder of P2P Foundation. Welcome, Michel.
Hello, Matthew. Happy to be here.
Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar with your body of work, maybe a bit of background and context.
Well, just maybe on a personal level, I'm from Belgium. 20 years ago, in my 40s, I moved to Chiang Mai. So I've been living there for 20 years now. And I'm the founder of the P2P Foundation, which is an observatory of all things peer-to-peer and commons-based. And what I mean with peer-to-peer is the new capacity that we have through digital networks for translocal self-organization. And I believe this is really new in the history of humanity.
Why is this important? Because we can make a little kind of history of the commons. So first, physical commons. So forest commons, fisheries managed by the village communities. When we get the enclosures of the 16th century, they disappear. They're basically destroyed. And then we get the social commons. So the farmers who are expelled from the cities expelled from the farm, go to the cities, become the working class, and they create the social commons. And so what happens under modernity is like the erasure of the commons. You get, first of all, the privatization of the physical commons, but you get the statification of the social commons, right? The welfare organizations of labor become the welfare state. And this kind of changes when we arrive at the stage we are now. So 1993, the democratization of the digital networks creates vast digital knowledge commons. So this kind of brings back the commons in the consciousness and practice of millions of people. 2008, first of all, we get the financial crash. So loads of young people, we have employment, 30 to 50%. In European countries, and they create a massive amount of urban and rural commons. I did a study in the city of Ghent. We went from 50 urban commons to 500 in just 10 years.
So when I came here 12 days ago, people around me were telling me, it's great what you're doing in Europe and Latin America and North America, but really here in South Africa, people are not that way. They're more distrustful. But frankly, what I've seen really since the first day is people were trying to do really the same thing. So citizens trying to create a better life by organizing themselves and creating a commons in a peer-to-peer way. And the most developed, most complex, most complete project is the Flow project. And what I like about it is that you have the citizens, you have the small businessmen, especially the informal sector, the very poor traders, and then you have a very enthusiastic city management.
That's what Will Ruddock is doing with Sarafu Network in Kenya.
Right, yeah.
I think that's such an exemplary project, right? You have these savings and loans associations, usually women, and they put 10, 20 euro a month or a week in a common pot, and then normally one of them would get it every month or every week. And so okay, I could be wrong about the details, but about 1,000 of these circles give some money to a common pot that creates a collateral that allows a mutual credit currency to be created with a multiplication effect. Like you can create more currency than you have in your collateral, right? Fractional reserve system, basically.
Yeah.
And then he added the blockchain to it, so it becomes visible. And now any NGO who wants to work against poverty knows that it gives $1 million, it becomes $6 million. They can see it. They can see where the money is going. So that's a really tremendously, I think, positive use of combining blockchain, with a real life integrated, currency in poor neighborhoods.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Grassroots economics, for people who are interested in going deeper on that. We have Will's co-founder, I believe her name's Jambi. In a couple days, we're going to speak with her. And yeah, I'll be meeting her for the first time, but excited to share more.